Hey guys, welcome to our second item comparison and review video. This time it's a battle of the 3 neck item slots most commonly used in PvM scenarios in RuneScape today. The Blood Necklace, which could be a Fury, Arcane, Brawlers or Farsight Blood Necklace, and also the Reaper Necklace and the Amulet of Souls. As I did in the previous video, I'm going to be comparing the 3 items against different categories where only one of the 3 items can win in each category unless they're tied, in which case each of the items gets half a point. And thanks to your feedback from the previous comparison video, I've added a few more areas and tweaked a few things which I hope you will appreciate this time around. So the categories for this time are, in order, requirements, special effects, bonuses, cost, maintenance, death, aesthetics, and then the specific scenarios: raids tanking, raids DPSing, KK, Nex, VORAGO tanking, VORAGO DPSing, ARAXXOR, rots, and finally Slayer. So this is going to be a pretty long video. So to kick things off guys, we'll see which of the 3 items has the least number of requirements. So the 2 Hydrix items actually don't have any requirements to wear, but they do need 90 crafting and 87 magic if you want to make them from the Hydrix itself, so from scratch. On the other hand, the Blood Necklace Shard can be added to 4 different necklaces, and you need 80 crafting to attach the Blood Necklace Shard to any of them. Also, the 3 Dungeoneering necklaces require 80 in their respective styles and 70 Dungeoneering to be able to wear. So yeah, you definitely need 80 crafting at the very least if you want to use the Blood Necklace Shard. Since the Hydrix necklaces don't actually have any requirements, half a point goes to each of the 2 Hydrix necklaces because they're both tied. So now we come to the special effects of each of the items, and to kick things off, let's start with the good old Amulet of Souls. So the most useful effect is that it has a 50% chance of healing, around 25 to 50% more life points when Soul Split is active, which is pretty damn useful in a lot of places. The other one, which is less well known, is that it also makes protection prayers reduce incoming damage by 60% rather than the usual 50%, which is significant especially in tank scenarios at most bosses. Actually not most bosses, but a lot of bosses. And the Reaper Necklace has only 1 special effect, but it is a pretty good one. Each successful hit you perform on a monster will increase your accuracy by 0.1% per stack, up to a maximum of 3% after 30 stacks, which is obviously the maximum or the ceiling. So basically it's like wearing void armor without actually wearing the armor, because all levels of void, regardless of whether it's superior, elite or just normal, give a flat 3% accuracy bonus. But obviously the catch is how long it takes for you to get up to 30 stacks and whether you can maintain 30 stacks, because as you can see from the testing on dummies, it took 11 seconds between my last hit on the dummy and when my adrenaline started to drop, and 47 seconds for it to drop to 0. So it's quite important you're not away from combat for too long if you want to maintain your accuracy bonus. Also, even while I was in combat all the time, the stacks started dropping after 28 seconds after 28 seconds at 30 stacks, and sort of fluctuated after dropping, so it's kind of unreliable. But one thing is for sure, if you're using bleeds like Corruption Shot and Combust, you can get your 30 stacks very quickly indeed. And finally, the Blood Necklace's special effect is actually probably best used if you're fighting multiple enemies at once. It heals between 200 and 500 life points randomly by damaging your enemy for the same amount every 15 seconds, but caps at 1200 life points. So like if you're fighting 6 enemies, you're pretty much guaranteed to be healed 1200 life points every 15 seconds, which is pretty damn nice. But the catch is that it doesn't affect most bosses except DKS, KQ Corp, and the 4 GWD bosses, the 4 weaker ones anyway. I'm not going to rank this section because that comes later on when I look at the different scenarios in which these special effects can be utilized. So the best item for pure combat stats is the Amulet of Souls with its plus 46 strength bonus in all 3 combat styles and a whopping plus 5 prayer bonus. So yeah, the Dunge Blood Necklaces put up a pretty good fight because they come close at plus 44 in their respective styles, but the Blood Fury and the Reaper sort of lag behind, so it's pretty obvious which is the best amulet for pure combat stats. So a point here for the good old Amulet of Souls. The cost of purchasing both the Hydrix necklaces is quite similar, and as you can see I just sold the Reaper necklace for 23 mil, which was 8 mil on GE, so you really can't trust GE prices. So yeah, let's just say they're both 23 mil at the moment, which obviously fluctuates quite a bit to be fair. Now the price of the Blood Necklace shard is around 8 mil, but you obviously need to add it to these different amulets to be able to use it. The Amulet of Fury is the cheapest, costing just 1.5 mil. The other three require 100k tokens to get the Chaotic Remnant from Dungeoneering, but also cost some money to get the Saradomian amulets. As you can see, the cheapest one is the Hiss, which is just 63k, but the others aren't too expensive either. So overall, obviously the Blood necklaces cost around 9 to 9.5 mil, which is much cheaper than the Hydrix necklaces, even though the Dungeoneering necklaces need 100k tokens. So yeah, the point here goes to the Blood necklaces definitely. Now maintaining these amulets used to be a big issue with the Hydrix jewelry, especially because they would degrade to dust if you forgot to repair them, but now thankfully they only go to a broken state when they hit 0%. So one Onyx recharges the AOS and the Reaper necklace by 50%, meaning the cost of recharging fully is 2 Onyxes, or roughly 3.2 mil at today's prices, which lasts around 10 hours in combat. For the Blood necklace, it depends on the method you use, of course, so either BOB, not BOB, Legendary Pet, Armor Stand, Blood Runes, or Blood Runes whilst being inside Draken's Crypt where you recharge a medallion. So for the sake of simplicity, let's just say we're using coins and Bob's axes, so the full cost of a recharge would be 1 mil, obviously much cheaper than the Hydrix items. So yeah, the Blood necklaces win this round as well, also because you can still use them as the normal amulets without the shard if the charges on the shard go to 0%. So this is different from the Hydrix necklaces, which you can't use at all if they hit 0%. Thank you for that, KBD. Now we can actually test the cost of death of each of the amulets. So Reaper necklace only costs 88k. Maybe this is due to them being at a different degraded state, so let me actually repair them first. Okay, so I repaired the items, but the cost to save is still exactly the same. So the Amulet of Souls cost 200k to save. Apparently it's only worth 210k, I don't know how. The Reaper necklace costs 88k to save, and the Farsight Blood necklace costs 57k to save. So the Farsight Blood necklace wins again, so the Blood necklace wins again in this round as well. Best place to test out aesthetics is from this nice vantage point of the Throne of Fame, which is pretty cool because I've got Comp Cape and I can go on here. And yeah, let's go ahead. So the first one is Amulet of Souls. Does it look good? I guess it looks decent. In my opinion, it's not the best. I mean, yeah, it's just a bit basic, isn't it? Reaper necklace looks ugly as hell. Definitely don't want that. Farsight Blood necklace looks alright actually. I like the look, but I didn't add the Blood shard to the others, so I can't really test them out. I mean, the Brawler's necklace looks good, but no one's going to add it onto that. And the Arcane Stream necklace looks even better, so I think the Blood shard on an Arcane Stream necklace would be the best. But I've only got it on the Farsight. So overall I think the Blood necklace looks the best, followed by the Amulet of Souls, and then the Reaper necklace, which looks ugly as hell, but that's obviously my opinion. So 1 point to the Blood necklace. So finally we come to the specific scenarios, and before we start you need to remember that the Blood necklace shard doesn't work on most bosses like I mentioned before, so it doesn't win many friends because of that. The first scenario is tanking at Rage, and when you tank at Rage you pretty much only get hit by one attack style, so you can safely protect against that style to halve the damage taken, but even so the hits are quite considerable. Therefore the extra 10% damage reduction of the AOS is probably most useful here, because you don't really want the Reaper because, well, you're not hardcore DPSing, are you? And you don't want the Blood necklaces because, well, as a tank you shouldn't really be in combat with anything but Dozag and Yakamaru, and of course they're immune to the effects of the Blood necklaces, so the AOS is the best amulet for its passive protection prayer buff. As for DPSing in Rage, it's a close call between the AOS and the Reaper necklace. especially at Yakamaru where you still get hit quite a lot through Protect from range. The AOS passive is quite useful, but on the other hand the bosses do have high defense and you're probably not using voids, so that extra accuracy is extremely useful. Add to the fact that you're constantly in combat, your stacks don't really drop too much, so you can maintain your 30 stacks throughout the whole fight, which I think makes it more useful than the AOS in this situation. The blood necklace again is pretty useless here because food isn't a major issue when you're DPSing, and you won't really be able to use the healing effect unless there are multiple jellies or charges piling you. So yeah, the Reaper necklace wins here. Having recently done a lot of KALPHITE King because I got my first ever KALPHITE King tasks for 3 years, I have a fair idea of what's most useful at this boss. But it really depends on whether or not you have a Keris and also whether you have a Desert Amulet 3 or not. Because with these two, your accuracy is already boosted by 25%. And if you combine that with a 14% boost from a Mighty Slayer helmet if you're on a task, you already have pretty damn high accuracy. So the Reaper necklace is kind of redundant with its 3% accuracy buff in the face of these massive bonuses. Especially because you'll probably be taking it off whenever it's not on mage phase, so you lose all the stacks when you take off the Reaper necklace. Obviously if you have neither a Keris nor a KALPHITE task, you'll probably be using Void, which has a 3% accuracy buff, and if you're tanking you're probably using Void, Ports or Tier 90 armor. My point is the Reaper necklace has little value here, and the AOS is probably more useful because of its soul split abilities when you're attacking it on mage phase, which is the only phase you'll be using a different neck item anyway if you have a Desert Amulet and a Keris, because you'll be using those two on range and melee phases. And its sprayer bonus and its massive strength bonus are also very handy. So yeah, I reckon it wins this round. The blood necklace can help with the minions a bit, but overall it only works when there are a lot of them around, which isn't really until the end of the fight. And so I don't think it's sort of worth using it here unless you're a low level tank that needs to save as much food as possible. Next is an interesting one because most of the people I've spoken to have recommended the Reaper necklace regardless of the size of the team. They do have a valid point because her defense can be high, especially at those critical blood phase moments, especially when you're soloing, when you need to be able to finish blood phase as fast as you can. The AOS has a minimal effect here because you barely ever soul split, and most of the food you use as a tank or soloer is because of Zaros phase and Ice Prisons, so DPS is a mantra here, and for that simple reason the Reaper necklace wins this round for its accuracy buff regardless of whether you're DPSing or tanking or soloing. So now we come to VORAGO tanking, and actually here the effect of the Amulet of Souls is massive because it's going to help you reduce a huge amount of damage over the whole fight. Since you're always using protection prayers, and the damage reduction passive is going to stack up a great deal because you do get hit a lot. So especially as a bomb tank where DPSing isn't really your #1 priority. If you add to that the superior all-round stats of the AOS compared to the Reaper necklace, it's exactly that, superior. Who would have guessed? I mean, an argument could be made, especially for base tanking, that it's not really an issue whether I get hit 2.5k or 2k by a melee hit because I can pretty much heal it back during those moments when I can soul split and VORAGO isn't aggroed on me. But even then the Amulet of Souls helps you get back your life points quicker, and let's face it, unless you're like really good, even with the Reaper necklace you're not really going to out DPS the DPSs as a bomb or base tank. So yeah, the AOS wins again here. VORAGO DPSing couldn't be simpler to decide an amulet for. The Reaper necklace wins comfortably because you need all the accuracy you can get at this boss as a DPS, and the Reaper necklace provides that. There's barely any need for the AOS's special effect since you literally take no damage. So yeah, the Reaper necklace gets a point. Enough said. Now, the blood necklace used to be widely used at ARAXXOR top path, especially the Farsight blood necklace because of how much you could potentially heal from the minions. Due to the number of minions, it's not super rare for you to be healed a max 1.2k LP at a time, whilst also damaging the spiders significantly. But the thing is, this was before people realized the potential of the Reaper necklace in terms of accuracy buff. The Reaper necklace is extremely useful at this boss because of the fact that you don't really use Void, and the Reaper necklace basically gives you the accuracy of Void while wearing tier 90 power armor, and you really do notice the difference when the necklace is on. So yeah, despite the blood necklace being useful when path 1 is open, the accuracy buff is more desirable, and so the Reaper necklace wins this round. Rots is a tricky one because the kills can be so quick, but by the time that you reach 30 stacks with the Reaper necklace, it's not really worth having used it. But on the other hand, if you use a lot of bleeds like Combustion, Corruption, Blast, etc., you can get your stacks to 30 really quickly. So yeah, it's highly debatable, but for the most part, in my opinion, getting 30 stacks takes too long for it to be worth using, and the far superior strength bonuses of the AOS is more useful, especially since you use Void here anyway, and use a Nihil as well, so you already have pretty good accuracy. So yeah, the AOS wins here. Last but not least guys, let's cover all the non-bossing PVM, especially Slayer. So usually when you're slaying or killing low level creatures, you're probably going to be using specialist amulets such as the Salve Amulet E for killing Edimus for example, or the Demon Horn necklace for dragons and dark beasts, etc. So you don't usually use any of the 3 amulets. So giving a winner here is kind of vague and doesn't really mean much, but we can immediately rule out the Reaper necklace because you pretty much have 100% accuracy anyway in these scenarios, and it comes down to the healing of the AOS with Soul Split active versus the healing of the blood necklaces without Soul Split. The blood necklace is only really useful if you have multiple stuff attacking you, like your Edimus or the Ascension dungeon creatures, and the AOS can be used anywhere provided you have Soul Split, but because the AOS costs too much to maintain, I think anyway, and the Dungeoneering necklaces only have 2 less strength bonus, I have to give the round to the Dungeoneering blood necklaces. In reality, like I said, you wouldn't use either really, but it's probably not worth wasting your cash on Onyxes for the AOS here because it's going to use up the charges pretty quickly. So that's the end of the comparison. The scores are 5.5 to the AOS, 5.0 to the blood necklaces, and 4.5 to the Reaper necklace, which also reflects my personal opinion that the overall all-round best amulet is the Amulet of Souls for its outstanding combat stats and its special effect being useful wherever you go. But it all boils down to 2 things. Firstly, whether or not you can afford buying the Hydrix items, and secondly, how much top tier bossing you're going to be doing. To start with number 1, if you're low on cash and just want a decent all-round amulet, then the Blood Amulet of Fury is your best bet. But if you're loaded, get the Hydrix necklaces and use them depending on the situation. Get both of them. If you're going to be doing top tier bossing a lot, get the Reaper necklace, especially if you're soloing or DPSing in larger groups. If you're not going to be doing top tier bossing so much, or you're just going to be tanking them, even if you are going to be doing top tier bossing, or if you're just mainly slaying and pet hunting at the weaker bosses, get the Amulet of Souls. Only get the blood amulets if you don't have Soul Split, to be honest. These days its uses are very sort of limited, and as you saw, 4 out of the 5 categories it won wasn't scenario based, so it kind of cheated its way to second place in my opinion. At the end of the day, if you're only going to get 1 item, get the Amulet of Souls. And if you stuck it out for this long, thanks for watching guys, and welcome to the Pros Club for RS Noobs in Disguise.